So one of the trending things right now is Elon Musk says that it's very possible that we live in a simulation, a simulated reality. He said that on the Joe Rogan show. I'm going to share my thoughts on that. This is Jake Ducey with JakeDucey.com. And are you living in a simulation? And if you knew the rules to that computer game, that universal simulation, wouldn't you be able to then create everything that you wanted in life? It'd kind of just be like a cheat code. This is Jake Ducey with JakeDucey.com. And let me share with you my thoughts on that cheat code. All right, so Mr. Genius himself, Elon Musk, like one of the smartest people in the world, creator of Solar City, Tesla, SpaceX, competing with NASA to send people out into space, says we can colonize Mars. He's like, yeah, I think it's highly possible and it most likely probable that we're living in a simulation. And he was on the Joe Rogan show, and him and Joe Rogan were talking about this concept of a simulated reality. And one thing that I found was interesting is that they kept alluding it to what if you're inside a computer? Okay, so here are my thoughts. What if instead you're not inside of a computer? And what if instead this reality is a simulation and we live in a multiverse? There's an infinite number of parallel realities. And all things, there's one reality of you watching this video right now, and there's another reality of you doing something totally different. And we're in this simulation. But instead of there being an ultimate control stick, like when you say that reality is a simulation, because we live in a technology-based world, what that often implies is that we live in a computer simulation, and there's like some guy on his computer and he's like, and he's like punching in our code for our life. Well, what if the simulation is actually created on a momentary basis and you are actually at the control panels to the simulation? So this entire reality is a hologram. This entire reality is a projection of consciousness. And consciousness and conscious intelligence is in everything, from the table to the computer to my shirt to everything. And you have the ability to direct consciousness in the same way that a person out on the bay has the ability to direct their sailboat and move it where they want, because they're harnessing the wind that is everywhere. Somebody says, well, where's the wind? Well, it's out there. It's in the air. It's everywhere. Somebody says, well, where's consciousness? Well, it's out there. It's everywhere. It's an invisible energy field that permeates all of this life. And you can direct that in the same way that somebody can direct a sailboat. You can direct consciousness towards the way that you want. Like if I say, think about your refrigerator. Can you think of your refrigerator? Like, what color is it? How about your car? Think of your car. Can you draw the image of your car onto the screen of your mind? Think about the face of your mother or somebody you love. Think about somebody you love. Can you see that? That's you harnessing consciousness, using your brain as a vehicle to produce conscious images. So what if all of the energy that ever was and ever will be is 100% evenly present at all places at all times, and it's always here around us? And when you hold an image or a thought, what's happening is, because you're pure energy, you're sending that frequency out into the field. Much like a really flat lake and you throw a pebble out onto it and it sends ripples out. It's like a disturbance in like the peacefulness and the stillness of the water, and you throw the rock out. What's happening is, it's creating like a disturbance in the field. Well, if you think of this conscious intelligence, this energy being everywhere, and when every time you have a thought or that you get emotionally involved with, or an emotion that you get involved with, or a belief system that you get involved with, you send a disturbance into the energy field out. You send a broadcast into the energy field out. And we live in a multiverse. We live in a world of infinite possibilities and infinite realities. And at every single second, you're literally stepping into new realities based off of the way that you are broadcasting outwards. So if we put that hat of thought on, then let's just say that this is a consciousness-based simulation. So there can be no existence without consciousness, and what you essentially are an individualization of consciousness that's taken on this identity, and here's who you are. And so what are the rules to this simulation to move through it? Well, number one is that you're sending out your energy at all seconds, at all times, and based off of your dominant energy over your life is going to culminate into what you bring back into your experience. Number two, you have the ability to think whatever it is that you want to think, regardless of the way that our world has programmed us. Now, there's no denying that there are people with certain motives. Many of them are not in the best interests of all of us, such as major corporations and major media pushes that are designed in order to control our consciousness, which within a certain level, in order to get us for certain motives that they have that may not be in our best interest, and along those lines, in order to manipulate people on large scales, you have to oftentimes convince them that they aren't good enough, that they aren't smart enough, that they aren't this enough, that they aren't that enough, here's this problem, and you have to control their consciousness. So unfortunately, most people in our world, in the Western world, live with their consciousness being essentially brainwashed by everyone outside, by all the energies of those interests outside of us. And that's why I always talk about my success hypnosis. It's down below, jakeshypnosis.com. It's free, and you can use that to start to take control of your mind and to program your mind for the success and the happiness and the things that you desire, as opposed to the energies and the interests outside of yourself. So you have the ability to think whatever you want to think, which is step number two, which is so powerful, because if you don't think what you want to think, then you will think what is suggested to you by sources outside of yourself. And that might mean that you go on a time track, a reality, a journey, a trip that isn't the one that you even wanted to be on. You might wake up 20 years down the road and you say, damn, I just wasted my life, right? So that's step number two. You get to think what you want to think. You get to hold the image of what you want in your mind. And when you hold images in your mind long enough, what happens is it's producing chemicals in your body. It's affecting your nervous system, sending electrical impulses through your nervous system, emotions through your nervous system. It's controlling how you feel, which is dictating your overall energy that you're putting out into this infinite field of reality, which is what's going to dictate what you create and attract back into your life. So my thoughts are, yes, absolutely, this is a simulation. I believe that it can be inherently limiting. My personal opinion, it's inherently limiting to look at the simulation as if it's some type of computer simulation that somebody else controls because it removes free will from the equation. I look at this like a simulation that's all potential outcomes already exist and are already written. But you, as the individual in your own simulation, as the consciousness in your own simulation, you get to decide what realities, what outcomes you will experience. And some people create amazing outcomes for themselves, right? And other people do the exact opposite. Some people create the life that they really want, and they create financial freedom, and they choose to hold the images in their mind that are in alignment with the things that they want. They say, what do I want? And they call it on the screen of their mind, and they imagine it. It used to be a daydream. It used to be a fantasy. They conjured it up in their mind, and then they went about creating it in reality, whether it's financial, whether it's just their overall life, whether it's their health, whether it's their love. They thought what they wanted to think. And what I'm inviting you to do is to consider the power that your thoughts are actually having in this moment on your life. To consider that you've been blessed with this beautiful thing, and it's called free will. It's called independent thinking. And it's your ability to think what you want to think, to form your own belief systems, whether they're conducive for your goals or not. Most people's belief systems are not conducive for their own goals. And that's because 95% of our life is subconscious, according to psychologists. 95% is habitual. So 95% of the thoughts and the beliefs and the perceptions and the reactions and the actions that you and I take are habitual. And most of those have been programmed in the early stages of our life by our parents, by our media, by the things that we saw outside of ourselves. And it formed and shaped who we are. And you have the ability to start to say, do I really believe that? Do I really believe that there's no good guys out there? Do I really believe that there's no good women out there? Because what if you lived in a simulation, right? And your thoughts were like the code, right? So you think of a simulation in a more traditional sense. You know, somebody's like typing in the code on the computer. What if the code was you typing in like, there's no good guys, there's no good girls, right? That'd be crazy, right? And then you click enter. And then just like the matrix, like the code pops up. And then that person's reality is then they're going to continue to struggle and they're not going to be able to attract the romance that they want. Or somebody's like, well, money is the root of all evil. And then so it's so funny to think about, right? So let's say that your simulation was you typed that in, money is the root of all evil, right on your keypad and then on your keyboard. And then you clicked enter. And that reality flashed on the screen. So you were going to start to pull to you the realities that created that situation where money was the root of all evil. See, I told you, money is the root of all evil, and you get some situation that proves it to you, right? So be careful with your thoughts. Ask yourself, are these thoughts that I'm thinking in alignment with the reality that I want to create for myself? And if the answer is no, the coolest thing is you get to think what you want to think. You get to think that you live in a beautiful world. You get to think that you're good enough, smart enough, that you'll figure it out, that you'll get the resources, that the risk is worth it, even though it's scaring the crap out of you. You get to do that. So this is Jake Ducey with JakeDucey.com, just talking about some thoughts about simulation reality based off of Elon Musk and Joe Rogan's conversation. Hit the like button right over there. If you dig that, share your thoughts. Do you think this is possible? Do you think this is the way that the world works? What are your thoughts on the simulation ideas? Comment that down below. Hit the subscribe and the bell notification, and make sure you download my free success hypnosis, jakeshypnosis.com. I believe that we live in a simulated reality and that your actual neural circuitry of your brain gets conditioned in certain ways that govern your reality. And so we created the Second Mind Neuroprogrammer, which is a software designed to literally start to recondition the brain in new ways, changing our thought patterns, our perceptions, and the things that we attract into your life. And the most amazing things, like people that have struggled financially, changing their whole life, people that have not been able to attract their soulmate, people struggling their whole life with confidence issues. I've heard the most amazing stories about the Second Mind. So you can demo it down below. It's at thesecondmind.com, and you can demo the software and use it today. So have a beautiful, beautiful day. Let me know your thoughts. And remember, your thoughts have power.